Victory's Price by Alexander Freed is the exciting conclusion to the Alphabet Squadron Trilogy, a story of a band of pilots from different squadrons coming together to create their own. Victory's Price was a very satisfying ending to a story that I thought was going to end very much on a different note, but like most of the trilogy as a whole, it kept surprising me. The story continues right after Shadowfall, with Alphabet Squadron feeling defeated. Yirka Quell's secret about her being involved with Operation Cinder came out, and everyone resented her for it. The rest of the team really spends most of the book trying to figure out how to cope with the loss, and what they should expect to do next. Especially Chastna Chaddock, who feels completely betrayed by Quell, knowing that they were starting to create a great friendship, only for Quell to have been lying this whole time about who she really is, leaves Chas feeling completely vulnerable and defeated. There's also a lot of tension between Nath Tensent and Will Lark, as they haven't really been as close since the events of Shadowfall, and now that Quell is gone and back with Shadowwing, Will is left in command of Alphabet Squadron, feeling unsure of himself as to how well he can handle leading the pilots of the New Republic. Kairos also deals with a lot of conflict throughout the book, but mainly with herself, and trying to figure out how she can continue on her path now that both Karn Aiden and ITO are gone. One of the main plots of the story is Quell trying to figure out just what the Empire has left. While the Imperial fleet is still crumbling, many believe the Empire will come back into power, and this gives me what I think is one of the greatest moments in the whole story, revolving around the Emperor's messenger. Quell ends up destroying it after it finds Quell giving intel to the New Republic from inside the Empire. From here, Quell and Soren Kais head out to dismantle the droid to discover what its true intentions are. The main story, however, focuses on Alphabet Squadron trying to stop another Operation Cinder event. The New Republic gets reports that Shadowwing is planning an attack on the planet of Chadawa, and Alphabet Squadron moves in to intervene. But once Quell's intel to the New Republic comes through the comms, Chas is filled with rage and chases after Quell through hyperspace with Kairos right behind her, leaving Will and Nath alone to stop Chadawa's demise. Quell is able to make it out of hyperspace to the location of someone who can tell them just what the Emperor's messenger is, which is a moment that I personally was waiting for a long time. Ever since the creation of the messenger in the Battlefront 2 campaign, I've been wanting to know more about it, and it really threw me off guard when we discovered that it's not really a droid but more of a walking computer, running calculations on who is worthy enough in the eyes of the Emperor to receive information on what to do next. Unfortunately, that's all the messenger is. There really aren't any set plans embedded in its memory core or anything. The Emperor's messenger was simply in place to act like a boogeyman, to give the sense of fear that the Emperor was still watching, when in reality there was nothing it could really do. During this time, the New Republic becomes successful in saving Chadawa from suffering the fate of Operation Cinder, but General Syndulla feels that the war is not over yet, as they begin to receive reports that the entire Imperial Navy is massing towards Jakku. General Syndulla makes the call for one last battle to stop the Empire once and for all by taking the fight to them. Just before they make their way, however, Chas and Kairos return with Quell as their prisoner, and after a long debriefing session with Syndulla, Quell is allowed a little bit of wiggle room and isn't completely incarcerated for her abandonment, since Hera knew what the plan was all along. Quell does explain Shadowwing's next move though. Now that Soren knows what was in the messenger droid, he plans to fly to Coruscant to destroy a giant database hidden underneath the city that holds intel on every single person in the Empire. Soren wants to destroy it due to his worry that the New Republic will treat its Imperial prisoners as the Empire would treat its own. However, Quell wants to stop him because she doesn't want the rest of the Empire to get a full pardon, and that they should be held accountable for their actions. Quell is able to stop Soren from destroying the database, and then starts to wonder of what her own sentencing will be when she returns to the New Republic. During this time, the New Republic becomes victorious in the Battle of Jakku, and to my surprise, nobody dies. I went into this book ultimately feeling that at least 3 or 4 members of Alphabet Squadron would not make it out of it, but surprisingly enough, everyone survives. Nath ends up leaving the New Republic and becomes somewhat of a pirate character, taking on jobs for cash. Will returns home to live out the rest of his life in peace and debates on getting into politics. Kairos takes off on her own, ready to become a new version of herself, whatever that may be, and Quell and Chas end up in a relationship together. It was all very surprising, but at the same time, very satisfying, because a lot of people that I know believe that every new character that comes in has to be killed off at some point since they don't appear in any of the movies to follow. But these characters have been through so much, and I truly believe that they all have earned their time away from war to live their lives the way they wanted to. In the end, the really only unanswered question I have is who keeps the Alphabet name, as we do get a mention of the call sign Alphabet 2 during the Battle of Exile Exegol in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. So maybe we will see these characters again, or perhaps Alphabet Squadron will continue with new members later in the timeline. Overall, this was a very satisfying conclusion to a great story. This is also the first trilogy I have been able to read and keep up with as it's been released. Every other Star Wars trilogy was already completed when I got around to reading them, so this was a really cool experience for me. But what were your thoughts on Victory's Price, and which book out of the whole trilogy was your favorite? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.